Welcome everybody, Janie here from Sage and Seer, and today in the Emporium we're talking to the amazing Eugenie Kruger all the way from Perth. And Eugenie is a fellow homeopath. She's a mum of two and she has created the incredible podcast Homeopathy Hangouts. I'm so thrilled to have the space today to share with you and with Eugenie, so please sit back and enjoy the interview today. And happy Homeopathy Awareness Week and month. And so, yeah, it's really brilliant to have you here, Eugenie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Janie. And yeah, how amazing to be able to celebrate Homeopathy Awareness Week. It's very exciting. I do like to celebrate it.
I know, yeah, it's important because Hanuman's gifted us with the most amazing system of medicine. So I think it's really, we have to keep his legacy alive and celebrate him. And you've generated some really good podcasts this week around everybody's experience of homeopathy. So I think what's been the burning question for me and why I wanted to do the podcast with you was to get to know you a little bit more, because I've watched that many of your interviews and I'm like, who is this woman and how did it all start? So I haven't done much research on you, but what I do know is you're from South Africa originally, and then
yes,
you moved to New Zealand, which is where I'm from. So I'm already
Aotearoa, yes.
Aotearoa, yeah. So tell me a little bit about yourself and obviously how eventually you got into homeopathy.
Yeah, so I grew up in South Africa and I left when I was 17 and then moved to Aotearoa, and both my children were born there as well. I actually met my husband in South Africa when I went back in 2007 on holiday, and we got engaged a week after we met and we got married 6 weeks later. And we've been married for 15 years. So yeah, and then after I met him in South Africa, I dragged him to New Zealand and we had our kitties there, which I am just so happy about because New Zealand has got probably one of the best birthing systems in the whole world. So I'm really grateful to have my two little Kiwi kids who now unfortunately are starting to get some Aussie accents, but that's okay. We'll forgive them. And then I don't know. I keep trying to think, how did I decide to get into naturopathy, which is how I then found homeopathy. But my dad always did composting with us from a young age. He always had fruit and veggies in the garden. His mother, they obviously grew up in the Depression era. So, the hose pipe would lie outside in the hot heat in South Africa. And that first hot water, she would always put in a little basin, which she would then do her dishes in, which then would go in the garden. And they always had a chicken farm. Unfortunately, it was battery hens, but so every fruit were always dried outside in the sunshine. So I think probably unconsciously that natural way of life was modeled to me. And whenever we were sick, my dad would make us these sandwiches with polony and cheese and garlic. And it was this family recipe. It also had parsley on it to kind of help. I've never told this story before, but it was this whole the polony is obviously not that great, but then he would put the cheese and then the garlic had to go on top of that and the parsley from his garden to kind of counteract a bit of the garlic. But, whenever we were sick, we had these garlic sandwiches that he would give us and you'd be better the next day. So I think there was this kind of gearing towards the natural. And I was that kid. I don't know. I have a feeling you probably would have been the same, Janie, making potions in the garden with flowers and,
Yep.
So I ended up in Health 2000 in New Zealand. I don't know if you recall that chain. And I was working there. Yeah, and then just it was really fun getting to help people on the shop floor. And then I was like, well, I'll become a naturopath. And then we were forced to do this introduction to homeopathy paper. And I didn't even know what homeopathy was. I had no desire to do it. It's funny because I didn't really know what it was, but for some reason I was just like, I don't want to do it. And then we had to do it as part of the degree program. And within that first lecture, I was sold. And it was because we were going to try and conceive in the next couple of years. And when I learned that homeopathy has no contraindications, that completely sold me. I was like, yeah, of course. Because in the health shop, I knew that a lot of the herbs and supplements you can't use when you're pregnant. And you can't use a lot of herbs and supplements on children under the age of 2.
Yep.
So, I mean, homeopathy was a no-brainer for me. It's safe in pregnancy, it's safe in birth, it's safe for the newborn. Like, why wouldn't I use it? So that was my journey to homeopathy.
Just grabbed you in that first.
It really did. It was a eureka moment. And it was like falling head over heels in love. And it's that passion and that fire is still burning, more than a decade on. So it's, yeah. And I know that you're the same. I can see it in your eyes,
No,
that burning fire.
well, years ago, my friend smashed her face up and like broke her back in a snowboarding accident, and she came to England to convalesce and stayed with me, and I had to take her to this little woman for some healing, and we walked into her house. I mean, she was ancient. She was like so old, and just went into this room, and wall to wall was bottles, and she had a radionics machine, she had a succussing machine, she had literally everything. It was like an apothecary. And she doused my friend Nush and said, oh, she needs dopamine. So she went to the machine and made dopamine, and I was just there going, oh my God, this is what I want to do. I don't know what she's doing, but this is what I want to do. So it was the same. I think a lot of us get grabbed really quickly. I think we've been here before a lot of the times, Eugenie, that it's actually already in us, and we resonate with the energy of homeopathy so fiercely in those first moments. It's because we've already experienced it before. So you're where were you in New Zealand? Like, did you come into Auckland like a lot of people?
I was in Auckland originally. I did a couple of years in Wellington, which was so fun, and in Tauranga as well. So I started off my studies in Auckland and I finished it off in Tauranga. So yeah, it was beautiful. It was my husband then got a transfer back up to Auckland, but I could have easily stayed in Tauranga. I often, we talk about it and we're like, oh, if things had been different, we still would have been there. There was a beautiful Steiner school there that my son was going to, the little play group there, and the most beautiful people in Tauranga, and it was really cool. It was before all the house prices went crazy, so that would have been 2013, 2012, 2013. So it was still quite affordable there, and we often say, oh, I wish we just kind of settled down there. It's so beautiful there.
I think it's the fastest growing city in New Zealand,
Oh,
Tauranga.
really?
I'm not far
Wow.
from there. I come from a little town called Kawerau, which is kind of near Whakatane. So, yeah, amazing how we've just, we've ended up where we're meant to be. That.
Definitely.
How did you get to Perth then from New Zealand?
Well, that funny story was that when I met my husband in South Africa, we were going to try and kind of make a life there after I had not lived there for, about 12 years or whatever at that stage. But it was really hard to find a job. And they have this thing in South Africa called BEE, which is Black Economic Empowerment. And that means that if you go for a job and you are white, you literally do not get the job, which is it's very interesting. Was quite an interesting experience, experiencing basically discrimination, racism from the other way around. So we just quickly realized that we wouldn't be able to make a life there. And I had lived in Canada for the year just before that, and my Canadian tax refund check had just come through, and it was just enough to buy us tickets to Perth. And I'd actually driven haul trucks in the oil sands in Canada. It's actually really funny telling you these stories because I've never publicly told this. But I was driving, firstly worked as a liftie in Fernie in Canada for a season, and then met a girl there who came from Fort McMurray in Canada. And so I went to go stay with her and drove these haul trucks. And of course, it's really good money. You work crazy hours. But then had some money saved up, went to South Africa. Yeah, like I said, met my husband, got married. Then the tax refund check came through and we're like, okay, this is just enough to get us to Perth. And they have mines there. So let's go to Perth and go work there. And it was in 2008 when all the mines had shut down due to the global financial crisis. And so I couldn't get a job there. And I ended up working at Flight Centre. And then I was like, no, Perth is so depressing. Let's go to New Zealand. And after we left Perth, my husband's parents and two of his sisters, their husbands, and 6 of the kids all moved to Perth. And so after being back in New Zealand for a few years and really struggling, it's can be so hard to make a living in New Zealand. It's so expensive. The cost of living is so high.
Yeah.
And then, our kids having 6 cousins over here and 2 aunts and uncles and grandma and grandpa. So I'm recording now, but actually the grandparents come and stay with us every second weekend. And, and my mother-in-law teaches piano to the kids every second weekend, and they get to hang out with their cousins in the holidays because we live about an hour away from each other. So it was a no-brainer to come over here, and it's been really good. Because in New Zealand, most people at least know what homeopathy is or have heard of it. You get it in most of the health shops over there, but Perth, really, people have no idea what homeopathy is. So it
Wow.
has been really interesting, and I feel like this is the place where my work needs to be done, because there's people just have no idea what homeopathy is. So it's been embraced very warmly over here, and we have got just a kick-ass group of about 1,400 women now in my group that all use homeopathy, and it's growing beautifully, and seeing how empowered they feel and the results that they get with home prescribing has been like amazing.
Yeah, it is. I think that's part of what really enriches your practice, is when your, clients go on to be able to prescribe themselves. And I've even had a few clients go on to study to be homeopaths, which I think is that's incredible.
It is. I have got at least a dozen of my clients that have enrolled at Switch On Health here in Australia to study since the pandemic. And that has been really, really, really cool.
Yeah, go for it. That's amazing. I love those kind of stories, because it just means you're doing your job amazingly, and that homeopathy is just speaking for itself. They've obviously had really healing responses.
They have, and it's a great career choice. I mean, I think after so many people lost their jobs, and homeopathy you can do anywhere in the world. You can do it remotely, and I think that makes it a really great career choice, because you can be your own boss, work any hours you want, and do it anywhere in the world. There's nothing holding you back as long as you've got an internet connection, and either a phone or a laptop, preferably, or a computer. You can be a homeopath anywhere in the world and have an income. I mean, it's Mary Aspinwall, or was it Mary Greensmith? I always get them mixed up. That operates from her boat around the world. And, even Hilary Dorian, she often sails and she'll do consultations. I had a mentoring session with her a year or so ago, and she was in a boat in Greece somewhere, just popped into her boat to come and mentor me for a session. And yeah, off she goes. It's amazing.
That's living the dream. Those are goals.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean,
yeah.
You don't actually need a physical premises, do you, to do homeopathy? So it is. And it has exploded due to the last few years and the situation that happened globally. Homeopathy has had such a renaissance, and there's more and more people searching for alternative systems of medicine that are non-toxic. They can take them whenever they need them, and it's I think the statistics, I heard some statistics yesterday on a podcast, and the revenue that homeopathy has generated in the last few years has increased it's like off the charts. So
I saw a statistic like that as well, and it was a prediction for what homeopathic remedy sales are going to be in the next few years, and it was in the billions or something like that. And I was like, yeah, I can totally believe that, because people are so ready for this. They're ready to take charge of their own health. So now is a great time to be a homeopath, and if you're not one already, to go and study it, because homeopathy is not going anywhere. It's here to stay.
That's it, exactly. And with powerhouses like you, bringing it to the world with the Homeopathy Hangouts, it's just helping people to understand it on a really good kind of level, where you don't have to be a homeopath to be able to prescribe for yourself acutely. Of course, if you've got other issues, then you can seek out a qualified homeopath. But yeah, it's accessible, and it's cheap, and it works, and we love it.
Safe, it's sustainable, it's the ultimate green medicine. It's it's hands down, just nothing comes close to homeopathy. Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of a variety of different therapies, and homeopathy will always be my first love, but it's not the be all and end all. Sometimes you need to go see a counselor. Sometimes you need to see the naturopath, go to the acupuncturist, go to the chiro, go to the osteo. Sometimes there's a place for pharmaceutical drugs. But homeopathy certainly ticks all the boxes, in my opinion.
That's interesting, because that was one of my questions that I wanted to ask you, was what other healing modalities do you and your family, use in times of like when homeopathy is enough? Obviously, like one of my best friends here is a chiropractor, so she does all our structural stuff. you know, because you can't.
Yeah, I love chiros.
Yeah.
I really love chiros. I worked in a chiropractic clinic in New Zealand. I had my clinic rooms there. I actually shared it with Gina Wilson, who's a very well-known New Zealand naturopath, in this beautiful clinic called The Connection in Silverdale. And their clinic is still going. We've got incredible chiros there. And then here in Perth, I also set up my rooms in a clinic with a chiropractor. And then the chiropractor ended up leaving during the pandemic due to the mandates, and I took over the whole clinic. So I'm a huge fan of chiropractic, but I use a lot of natural medicine as well. So if the kiddies are sick, they're getting their aconite, but they're also getting probiotics, vitamin C, elderberry, whatever is needed. I really like cod liver oil, magnesium. But, to be fair, my kids are ridiculously healthy. We're on 16 acres out here. So they're in the dirt all day long. They come home when it's dark. So they're just super healthy. So it's not often that we need extra things between basic naturopathic, additional naturopathic things and homeopathy. They're super healthy.
Oh, fab. That's awesome. Yeah, well,
Mm.
that's just homeopathy doing its job. What do you do for yourself, Eugenie? Do you get a massage every month or?
No, we actually have two incredible massage therapists in our clinics. I don't. I'm trying to find a good level at the moment because I am by nature a workaholic, which is not a good thing. So I am trying to find that good balance. I do go for walks around the farm. We've got two doggies who are asleep on my feet at the moment, but I go for walks around the farm. That's my zen.
Yeah.
It's just we've got a beautiful view out here, and there's so much space, and it's so quiet. And so it's funny, like we used to go camping a lot, but since we've been on the acreage about 3.5 years ago, we actually haven't gone camping because it literally permanently feels like we're out camping. Unfortunately, it is a 40-minute drive. It's 55 Ks between the farm and the clinic. So we do a lot of driving. Hence why I started the podcast, because I'd actually listened to all the homeopathic podcasts out there with all my, 600 kilometers a
Oh,
week that I drive. And I'm like, well, I should start my own podcast because I've listened to all the ones out there. And luckily, there's been an explosion of homeopathic podcasts in the last year, which is brilliant. It's so nice hearing everyone's different take on it. So no, Janie, I'm really bad with looking after myself and working very hard on fixing that, because it is all about balance, and I can't be preaching to my clients to have balance in their lives when I don't have it. But yes, I do go for walks on the farm and
yeah.
get lots of fresh air. And we're pretty much outside here all the time. Our
Yeah.
house is quite small, but our land is like, we've got loads of land. So our whole family are really outside people, and that's where we spend a lot of our time.
Yeah, well, I think you've got the weather there in Perth that allows that kind of
Yes.
lifestyle. I mean, here in Ireland, I
Yes.
know my lighting is really quite strong today, but it's so sunny today. It doesn't happen often in Ireland, so we really cherish it when it does. But you literally tuned into my other question, Eugenie, because that was what I was going to ask you next, was how did the podcast come about? How did it manifest? And like, how have you decided who you're going to interview? And I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Sure. It's so lovely being asked these questions, because I've just never, I've never had anybody ask me these questions before. So it's kind of nice to talk about the behind the scenes of how it all started. So thanks for the question.
Oh no, I'm
Um,
happy to
it
ask.
was it was the drive. There's 600 kilometers a week that we were driving, and I often think, I think my kiddies are going to look back on this, because their school is actually just around the corner from my clinic. So all of us drive in together. And my husband works with me as well now. So we all drive in together, listen to a podcast together, a story or music, or we chat. It's actually beautiful family time. But yeah, I just like, actually, Kelly Callahan from the 1M podcast, which I absolutely love as
Oh,
well.
she's awesome.
She's so awesome. And she was often say on her podcast, come on, any of you homeopaths listening, you need to start your own podcast. We need more podcasts. And one day I was listening to it and going, I can do that. I can talk. I love talking to people. I can talk and record it and create a podcast. And it kind of just grew from there. But my big passion, my number one passion always, is empowering women to use homeopathy in the home. That's my mantra. If you woke me up like 2 o'clock in the morning and said, what's your mantra? That was to empower women to use homeopathy in the home. Like, that is my reason for living, apart from my husband and two amazing kids. But the other thing is trying to get the general public to understand what we need from them in a consult to get the best results. Because Homeopathy is so vast, and we prescribe in so many different ways, and we have so many different remedies. And every homeopath you go to is going to be a different experience. And that can be super frustrating for some people because, they kind of want that cookie cutter McDonald's experience that, if you go to this person, you get the same as this person, which is any other health practitioner basically that you go to, if you go to a chiro or even Reiki. I mean, you've done Reiki, I've done Reiki as well. It's going to be similar, like kind of similar. But homeopathy, it really is so different depending on who you go to,
Yeah.
what the questions that they're going to ask you. Some will give you a questionnaire, some won't. Some have shorter consultations, some have longer ones. Some will talk a lot during the consult, some will just be completely quiet. Some will give you a remedy on spot, some later. Some will give you one remedy, some will give you 10 remedies. Some will use radionics machines, some will use a pendulum, some will intuitively prescribe. So, like it's so different. So trying to get the public to understand that all of that is okay. And you need to find a practitioner that you resonate with, and that one practitioner isn't better than another. Like the best homeopath is the one that you resonate with. And it doesn't matter if they're still a student or newly qualified or 10 or 20 or 50 years experience as a homeopath. If you resonate with them and that they find the right remedy for you, then they are the best homeopath for
Yeah,
you.
voila.
So that is the message that I want to get across, is to help people understand what we as homeopaths need to help them the most. And also that just finding that homeopath that you resonate with, because that's going to be 80% of the healing journey, I think.
You just said that so well. I totally agree with you wholeheartedly. Even for me, it's got to the point where I've got a client so far, and then I said, you know what? I think you're going to be better off if you go and see my friend, Antoinette or Grania or whoever
Mm.
I feel they're going to get more of the healing
I've
response.
done that too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've done that too. Yeah, definitely.
I think it's really important that connection. It's like going to your hairdresser as well, isn't it? You have to have a good relationship with them because they're like your agony aunt as well, aren't they?
Absolutely. And funny enough, I know a couple of hairdressers who have gone on to become counselors themselves, or even homeopaths as well. But it's right. We're like that. We're the
Yeah.
agony aunt.
I think when I
Mm.
did my training, I trained at the Irish school in Dublin,
Ah, cool.
and one of the first kind of things that they taught us in first year was about that resonance with your homeopath, and that connection
Mm.
is equally as important as your prescription, because so much healing takes place in that consultation. It's so cathartic. Often people get that opportunity to express something that they've never been given the opportunity to talk about before, and they can identify where that grief is coming from or why those stomach issues started in the first place. And then you see all the pieces of the puzzle starting to come together for them. And that's so healing in itself, because they recognize that this is where things started. The never been well since. You have to have that connection. So who do you have a
Mm.
homeopath yourself, Eugenie, or?
Oh my goodness, that you asking me some tricky questions, putting me on the spot. I actually did see the lovely Anna Vervaak about 6 months ago, and she prescribed a really interesting remedy for me, which has actually done quite a lot. And before that, I saw somebody while I was training, so around 2011. So I actually did not have anybody in that gap because I had a couple of bad experiences who were actually like very well-known homeopaths at the time. And and I ended up finding a remedy myself that I believe was my true constitutional. And I did so well on that remedy for a decade. And then it was just more recently that I'm like, oh, I think I need something else. And also because I just kind of wanted to see how other homeopaths prescribe. And my son saw a beautiful homeopath over here in New Zealand, and then my daughter saw the amazing Hilary Dorian. And so it was really cool. So it was kind of like I guess like a mentoring session almost as well. My mum saw a homeopath in South Africa. So it's just really cool seeing how other homeopaths prescribe as well. So yeah, that was a beautiful experience. And I was thinking just today, I was like, yeah, I need to contact Anna again and just get a little tweak of my prescription.
Yeah. I think I've got like 4 homeopaths, and I'll just dip into who I need. I'll be very intuitive about my
Great.
tune into who's going to help me for whatever it is I need help for, and then I'll give them a shout. And yeah, it's nice to have you know, a kind of a pool of people to from. But
oh, absolutely, yeah, definitely.
are you that's the other question. You've mentioned Hillary so many times now. Have you had her on the show yet, or are you having her on the show? Because
I have had her on the show. I love that woman so much. I'm actually doing her master practitioner course through CHE at the moment, which is a
Oh
10-month
wow.
course. Yeah, because she is heading into retirement. So this is kind of her last gift that she's handing over to,
Oh,
homeopaths, which is really, really cool. And
oh
a
wow.
little birdie told me, and I'm sure I'm allowed to say, but the amazing Colin Griffith is also going to be doing a master practitioner course with CHE towards the end of the year. I had a chat with Marcus Fernandez from CHE yesterday, and I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to say that. I'll double check with him, but there is going to be
Well,
Colin's
you
going to
said
do a
it
master
now.
practitioner.
Oh,
Yeah,
amazing.
I've said it now. Like, I'm sure it'll be fine. But it's wonderful that we've got these homeopaths with 4 decades of experience that are willing to pass that knowledge on to us. I actually, about 2 years ago or so, I had about a dozen or so mentoring sessions with Hillary. So once every 2 weeks or once a month, I would take a tricky case to her and just kind of, nut it out with her. And I've done all her courses that she personally puts on, and then also the ones through CHE. And I just really like her style of teaching. And I think as a practitioner, it's just as important to find a mentor or a lecturer that you resonate with. And I don't know, there's something about the way that she teaches that just really vibes with me. And
So grounded.
her,
She's just so grounded. It's just, there's no bullshit. It's just straight up
mm,
from her heart, really coming from her clinical experience. And yeah,
mm.
I'm the same.
And
I watch her and I'm like, oh, this is just how I'd want to teach, how I want to teach, and to be able to pass it
yes,
on as well. Yeah. But
yeah, no, she's
actually, sorry to interrupt, but for those of you who are watching and don't know who Hilary Dorian is, she's a really, really incredible homeopath from England. She's been around for a long time in the homeopathic circuits. When she trained, she actually also did her Chinese medicine at the same time as homeopathy. So
she did it first. So she was an acupuncturist first. Yeah.
that's
And
it,
then
yeah.
studied homeopathy after. Yeah.
And she just has such a like an incredible way about her, and she teaches for the Center of Homeopathic Education, which is CHE, which Marcus Fernandez is the principal of in London. So check them out, guys. I'll link that into the comments below. But when does that wrap up, Eugenie?
In June. So I
Okay.
haven't been able to. 2 of the sessions I've watched live because unfortunately it's at 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. depending on, with daylight saving, 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. our time. So I have sat live in 2 sessions, but the whole next day was a write-off. So I do watch the
Yeah,
recordings because I just can't. It's just, those days are over of
yeah, of
being
course.
up all night.
So how have you kind of come to select who you've interviewed? What's the is there a process behind it? Have you just kind of dreamt about someone and said, oh, I'd love to put them on the list? Or
It's kind of started off with just sending a gazillion emails out. Like I first made a list of probably about 100 homeopaths who I thought would be great, all the big names. And I emailed all of them, and I'd say maybe 50 or 60% of those replied. And often when I sent a second email, they'll reply back. I've only had one no in all of that time. But then once the podcast got a bit more popular, I had a yes from that same person. I won't name any names. And then after that, once things really started rolling, and once I got the Facebook group up and going, the Homeopathy Hangout podcast Facebook group, that was really great because I try to get as many of the guests that have been on the show into the Facebook group so that if listeners have questions, then they can interact directly with a guest. So
yeah,
just trying to create this community where, if you really liked what Marcus Fernandez or Hilary Dorian or anybody else on the show said, that you can interact with them right there in the group and clarify anything that they might have said. And then that's where I got a lot of great suggestions of homeopaths that I had never heard of, but like Vladimir Petrocci, and I'm like, how have I not heard of this man? But you would really enjoy his work because you're into that spiritual realm as well. he's created this, it's called the Quintessence Forum.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's just, I don't even know how you would describe it, but go and check out his Facebook group and the website. There's lots of information on there.
Oh,
Or
and where's he? He sounds really exotic with a name like Vladimir.
yeah, he's in Slovakia.
Oh, wow.
And
Oh, awesome.
yeah, is it Slovakia? I'm sure it's Slovakia. And then there's Yeri, who's I think also in Slovakia, but he does the autopathy, the remedies made from your own saliva. And so these are all people that I didn't know of. They were all, guest suggestions, which is really great. And then, I mean, you probably learned about Isayaga as well, Janie, at
Mm.
college. We learned
Yeah,
about
of
him in,
course. Yeah.
2010. I did not know that he has got, and I don't know if it's his son or his grandson, but he's just presented at the JAHC in America, and he's a homeopath. And so he's just emailed me today saying, yeah, he's happy to come on the show as well. So I am so keen to hear his story. I'm
Oh,
trying really
cool.
hard to get a hold of homeopath in Japan, and I've tried it a few different avenues, and somebody in Japan said yes, but then I just haven't heard back from them. So I'm really trying hard to get homeopaths from all parts of the world.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I've got
amazing.
somebody probably going to put me in touch with a Russian homeopath, and I did a course with George Yerg, who is I think in Belarus, and so I'm just trying to line these people up and just see how differently homeopathy is done in different parts of the world.
Yeah, where it's happening internationally and what's going on.
Yeah,
It's like that. Yeah, so many people have taken homeopathy and kind of made it into their own system by adding different, remedies or modalities or styles of prescribing, or like what Vladimir has done, which I'm fully going to go and check out.
yeah, you will be all over that like white on rice. You would love it. Um, yeah, I mean, there's some amazing homeopaths out there doing incredible things, and it's interesting how there's a couple of that on the show, like Ian Watson, who's actually not a practicing homeopath anymore.
Yeah,
That's the dog, by the
I
way.
heard that.
He's not a he's not a practicing homeopath anymore. And he's gone on to this other it's called the
Insight space.
yeah, inside space, but
Yeah.
there's method that he uses. It's got a certain
Oh, it's
name, but
like the
the
three
three pillars.
three pillars.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's Yanita Vanima, who also used to be a homeopath and then had some obstacles to cure with her son and realized that her son is her mirror. So everything that she needs to heal in her son is actually things that she needs to heal in herself. So she's not a homeopath anymore. She only uses this method. And then you have these guests we've had on the show that combines with their astrology with homeopathy, or
Yes.
I spoke with somebody today who uses emotional coaching, or just mindset coaching alongside the homeopathy. So, we get to a certain point in our journey where we realize we need some other tools alongside the homeopathy to get our clients to that next step and that next level. So it's really cool chatting with these people as well and just seeing what other things they're incorporating alongside their homeopathy.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story last week. This happened, or the week before. A client came in, 35 weeks pregnant, baby was breech. So I was going to do some Reiki on her and some tuning forks. So I actually contacted Eileen McCusick, who I did some training with in America, to see had she ever moved a breech baby with the tuning forks. And she said no, but she thinks it could happen. So got the client on the table, and I suddenly felt like I had to give her some aconite because there was a real energy of fear there. So gave her the aconite, started the Reiki, started doing tuning forks on various different points in the belly, then realized, oh, hang on, I have to give her amniotic fluid. So I'm prescribing and dosing her with the remedy whilst I was doing the tuning forks and the Reiki. And then it was like, okay, run the radionics machine to move whatever else was coming through, came up. There was another layer. And she texted me 3 days later and the baby had moved. And it was just like, that was totally experimental prescribing.
Oh, wow, that is very cool. And so much trauma that you've saved that mum and baby by not having to go through a C-section, or everything else that could have got. That is really cool. Tuning forks is something that's always intrigued me. So that sounds really cool. And I have ordered a radionics machine after I had Jill Turland on the show. But I think it's still going to be a couple of months because I know they have a huge wait list to get the radionics machines out. It's a couple of months wait time. So,
well, if you need some tips on that, give me a shout.
yes, please, I will.
And I use it quite differently to how, I guess, most people use it. Or well, I don't know, but yeah.
Which one have you got?
I've got the 10 dial from Natural Patient in Scotland.
Okay.
So it's just a little box like that,
Yeah.
2 wells in it, and it runs on magnets. It doesn't get plugged into the wall at all. It's just amazing.
That is so cool. Have you played around with the mega potencies at all?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
You
totally. Yeah,
cool.
because when I do distance healing sessions, I always use my radionics machine in those sessions as well, and I douse
Oh,
and
amazing.
CM, LM. It just, yeah, I don't have any fear in broadcasting those potencies to people. So, and the results are incredible. Yeah.
Imagine if, I mean, surely this is something we must be able to do, to have every homeopath who has a radionics machine dial like a certain vibration to try and heal the planet. I mean, surely that's something that we could do. I once read a suggestion that we should all carry Buddleia in our pockets and
Oh wow.
pop pills of Buddleia in the streams and the waterways and all around, as we're going on walks to help heal
Yeah.
heal the
That
waterways and heal
trauma.
the planet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
I'll do a session on you if you want, and then we can maybe do another interview about the results, or what
That sounds
happened.
cool.
That would be really cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Amazing.
that's multi modality, Eugenie. So I'm working with Reiki, tuning forks, crystals, tarot, oracle, the radionics machine, whatever comes through in the field. So it's cool. Yeah, we'll do one on you. We'll organize one. That'd be amazing.
That sounds so cool and amazing that you can do that all via distance, hey?
Ah, wow. I know. It blows my mind still, even after all these years of doing it. So with, when I did my Reiki training, I was traveling at the time. That was my lifestyle. I was traveling. I backpacked for about 12 years. So
Wow.
yeah, and so I didn't have anywhere to practice as such. So I just did distance healings the whole time and just refined my craft, I suppose. So yeah. It's amazing.
That's very, very cool.
Well, for you, like, do you use any other modalities than homeopathy? I know you said you've done your Reiki.
Yeah, I have done, I did shiatsu when I was about 19. I did Reiki when I was about 20 and 23 or 4-ish. But I just use homeopathy. I use a lot of Ton Janssen in my clinic and little Liz Laylaw. I love using the crystal remedies. And I use a lot of Colin Griffith's triads to
Yes.
release ancestral trauma. Along with constitutional remedies, I love the bowel nosers. Pretty much everybody walks away with a bowel noser and usually endocrine sarcode because I only treat women and children. So I prescribe a lot of progesterone, follicular and pituitary gland, hypothalamus. Like yeah, that's what I do. I do get FOMO often and I think, oh, I should be adding this modality and that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, something I would love to learn more about is astrology, especially after having Peter Berryman on the show and Gabriel Blass, who, use astrology alongside their homeopathy. But they have warned me that that is like as vast as homeopathy, if not more. And I just think I already have about 300 hours of courses that I need to do and at least 20 or 30 books that I still need to read. So I just don't even want to go there. I feel quite complete and content with homeopathy.
Oh, I know. Well, I think homeopaths are all obsessed with buying books.
Yes, it is. I was wondering, do you think it's like a prerequisite to be obsessed with books to be a homeopath? Because I do not know a homeopath that's not obsessed with books.
Yeah,
I
I
I
think
mean, my husband
I
said to me
mean,
the other day, no more books. And I'm like, but
yeah.
I need them. I haven't read half of them, but they're sitting there and I could read them if I want to. And that's the important part. And it's funny because my clinic manager, Amy, she started studying to become a homeopath. And she has bought so many books as well that she hasn't read either. I was like, it's a curse. It's a
Oh,
curse.
yeah. I got to the stage where I was like, you're not allowed to buy another book until you've read those 50 other ones. So
Yes. Yes.
you can't help it though. People
Yeah, a
read
lot of them I use as
books.
reference books, like Colin Griffith's books, for example. Like if I think somebody might need Berlin Wall or whatever, then I'll go, read up the Materia Medica on there. Or if they need Rainbow or a chalice well or whatever, I use them as reference books, so I know where to go and find the information in the books when I need them, or if I think somebody needs. I bought, after I had Peter Tamanello on the show, bought all his jewel books, and I haven't read through all of them, but I have often referenced them. So if I think somebody might need amethyst or jade or whatever, then I'll grab the book and I'll read through there. And so I guess that, like, it's good reading them cover to cover, I guess, but you can also just use a lot of them as reference books.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do as well. Yeah, Peter Tumanello. Oh my goodness, that was his work is unbelievable.
His work's amazing.
Isn't
It's
it?
so cool. And his books are beautiful. The artwork in it is beautiful. Like, if I think somebody might need the remedy emerald, I'll just show them the artwork in the book, and often that's enough to bring tears. It's because in his book it shows the kind of the negative, what he calls the negative seed and the positive seed. So for emerald, for example, the negative seed is this like caged tiger, and this person that did this artwork for him did it so beautiful. So you have this tiger that's just sitting in there. You think you're so frustrated, he's in a cage, and that's like the negative aspect of the remedy, is all this rage and anger that's all caged up and pent up. And then the positive seed is this man with it's got kind of like a lion cape thing over him, holding up this thing, and you can just see he's embraced his power in a positive, it's free, and it's just, it's really beautiful. And that is I'm quite a visual person, so when you've got those images printed in your head, it makes it easier to remember the remedy.
I think for many people, art evokes such a response in them. When you stand in front of paintings that you resonate with, it's probably as healing as a remedy. So well, this has been so great, Eugenie. It's been really lovely to hear a little bit more about you and get to know how the podcast was birthed. And I guess then, are you still, just before we kind of wrap things up, are you still seeing clients, or is your booking, oh, look. He's like, hurry up.
You want to go out? You can wait a minute. I closed my books about 2 years ago. I see about probably 15 to 20 clients a week. But I have 5 homeopaths on my team, so we meet up every Friday morning. It's wonderful. And just having that team and that connection, and so that's I just refer to the people within my team, and we all work in kind of similar but different, and we all come from different backgrounds and things, and so we all have a different flavor to bring. So if I think somebody who's inquired with me might resonate with one homeopath more so than another, I'll refer them to that one specifically. But if you go on my website, they're all listed on there, and you can do a 15 minutes free call with any of them to see who you resonate with. But I only see family of existing members of existing clients, and now and again, if I see like a really special interest case, then I'll take that on as well, which has been really beautiful. It's been really lucky, great position to be in.
Oh wow, that's nice. Awesome. Yeah. Well done. That's such testament to your work that you're so busy. So it's awesome.
I think most homeopaths, I'm sure you found that as well. It's been the last couple of years since COVID, so many homeopaths clinics have completely boomed as people are just looking for safe alternatives. So now's the time to be a homeopath, sure.
Yeah, homeopathy is the medicine of now, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's the medicine of now. Someone said to me the other day, it's the medicine of the future. I'm like, no, it's the
time is here now.
Now, and actually,
absolutely.
Eugenie, I know you've got kits and all kinds of remedies and T-shirts and other products on your in your shop. So I have a remedy for that.
I'll send you one. Email me your address, Janie. I'll post you one.
Oh, thank you. I'd love that. Oh my
pleasure. There's one. I know we've sent one T-shirt to Ireland, so you can be our only other person in Ireland with a T-shirt. But we do.
Oh, I will wear that with pride. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, flick me your address. I'd love to send you one. They're really good quality T-shirts. I must have worn this T-shirt 50 times. Literally, I wear this every single day. I have 4 of them. So, and my staff wear their T-shirts every day as well. They don't have to. They can wear whatever they want to work. But they're just so comfy and they wash so well. So when I designed them, like I wanted to make sure that it's something that's good quality.
Good
But
quality,
yeah.
and they last.
Mm,
Right. So we want to see
yeah.
lots of people sharing Eugenie's t-shirts around the world. So
Oh, yay.
send us a photo if you get one and tag us in it, and we can share it on our socials pages.
That'd be great.
Oh, thanks so much, Eugenie. I'll link all your details in the description below. And it's been a really just such a joy to connect with you today and hear your story. And I can't.
It was so lovely to connect with you, Janie. I'm just I was really impressed by the questions, and it was really interesting being able to share things that I haven't shared before, about the podcast and about how it came about. So thanks for asking. It was really nice to share.
Oh, you're so welcome. And listen, if anybody wants to get hold of you, then I'll link all that stuff in. And thanks so much for watching, and have an amazing day. And we look forward to all the podcasts that are emerging, and to see who your guests are, Eugenie. And
Thank you so much. There's some goodies lined up. I have 10 interviews on the 5th. Actually, I had 4 today, and I've got 10 on the 5th of May. So this one back to back. And then that's pretty much going to be our episodes for the next few months. So yeah, then it's all lined up, and I can have a bit of a break, which is great.
Oh, that's good. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
All the best. Keep in touch.
Over and out from Sage and Seer. Take care. Bye.